You know, folks, I've been thinking a lot lately about this idea of kindness. Now, don't get me wrong, kindness is a wonderful thing. It's one of those qualities that we all admire, that we all strive for. But here's the kicker. Too much of anything, even something as good as kindness, can be dangerous. And today I want to talk to you about how kindness, if you're not careful, can absolutely ruin your life. Let's start with something I've noticed over the years. People often confuse kindness with weakness. They think that being kind means being a pushover, letting people walk all over you. But let me tell you something. True kindness, the kind that changes lives, the kind that moves mountains, that kind of kindness requires strength. It requires courage. It requires wisdom. But here's the problem. When we don't understand this, when we practice kindness without wisdom, without boundaries, without self-respect, that's when kindness can start to ruin our lives. So today we're going to talk about 4 ways that kindness, if not properly understood and applied, can absolutely derail your life. And more importantly, we're going to talk about how to avoid these pitfalls and practice kindness in a way that enriches your life and the lives of those around you. Now, before we dive in, I want you to understand something. This isn't about stopping being kind. Far from it. This is about being kind in a way that's sustainable, in a way that doesn't drain you, in a way that allows you to keep giving without burning out. Because let me tell you something. The world needs your kindness. But it needs your kindness for the long haul, not just for a brief moment before you collapse from exhaustion. So are you ready? Are you ready to learn how to be truly kind without ruining your life in the process? Good. Let's get started. Number 1, kindness without boundaries will exhaust you. Now, this is a big one, folks. I've seen it happen time and time again. Good people, kind people who just can't seem to say no. They're always there for everyone else, always ready to lend a helping hand, always putting others first. And you know what happens? They burn out. They crash and burn. Let me tell you a story. I once knew a woman, let's call her Sarah. Sarah was the kindest person you'd ever meet. She was always volunteering, always helping out her neighbors, always there for her friends. If someone needed a shoulder to cry on at 3 a.m., Sarah was there. If someone needed help moving, Sarah was the first to offer. If someone needed a loan, Sarah would give them her last dollar. Now, on the surface, sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But here's what happened to Sarah. She was so busy taking care of everyone else that she forgot to take care of herself. She was exhausted all the time. Her own house was a mess because she was always at someone else's house, helping them clean. Her own finances were in shambles, but she was always lending money to others. Her own dreams were put on hold because she was so busy helping others achieve their dreams. And you know what the saddest part was? The people around her started taking advantage of her kindness. They stopped appreciating it because it was always there, always available. They started expecting it, demanding it even. Now, don't get me wrong. Sarah's heart was in the right place. But her kindness was ruining her life because she didn't have any boundaries. So, what's the solution? How do we practice kindness without letting it exhaust us? The answer is boundaries, folks, boundaries. You see, true kindness isn't about saying yes to everything and everyone. It's about saying yes to the right things, to the things that truly matter. It's about being able to say no, sometimes so that when you say yes, it really means something. Imagine you have a beautiful garden. Now, if you let everyone trample through your garden whenever they wanted, what would happen? That's right, your garden would be destroyed. But if you put a fence around your garden, if you create boundaries, then you can invite people in to enjoy your garden on your terms. You can keep your garden beautiful while still sharing it with others. Your kindness is like that garden. You need to put a fence around it. You need to protect it. Because if you let everyone trample all over your kindness whenever they want, you'll end up with nothing left to give. So here's what I want you to do. The next time someone asks you for help, before you automatically say yes, take a moment, ask yourself, can I do this without exhausting myself? Is this something that truly requires my help? Or is this person capable of doing it themselves? Am I saying yes because I truly want to? Or because I'm afraid of saying no? Remember, saying no doesn't make you unkind. It makes you wise. It allows you to say yes to the things that really matter. It allows you to be kind in a way that's sustainable, in a way that doesn't burn you out. Because here's the truth, folks. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you exhaust yourself trying to be kind to everyone all the time, you'll end up with nothing left to give. And that's not kindness. Self-destruction. Now let's move on to our second point. Kindness without discernment will make you a target. This is a tough one, folks, but it's important. In this world, not everyone has good intentions. Not everyone will appreciate your kindness. Some people, unfortunately, will see your kindness as weakness and try to take advantage of you. I remember back in my early days, I was always eager to help anyone who asked. I thought that was what kindness meant, never turning anyone away, always being there for everyone. But let me tell you, I learned some hard lessons. There was this one time, I lent a considerable sum of money to a friend of a friend. He had a sob story about needing to pay for his mother's medical bills. Now, I had the money and I thought, well, if I can help, I should. So I wrote him a check. Weeks went by, then months. No word from this fellow. When I finally tracked him down, you know what I found out? There were no medical bills. He had used my money to fund a gambling habit. Now that stung. It stung bad. But you know what? I'm glad it happened because it taught me a valuable lesson about kindness. It taught me that kindness without discernment is like a ship without a rudder. It'll end up on the rocks sooner or later. You see, true kindness isn't about being nice to everyone all the time. It's about doing what's truly best for people, even if sometimes that means saying no. It's about being wise in how you give, in how you help. Think about it this way. If you see someone stuck in a hole, what's the kind thing to do? Is it to jump in the hole with them? No. The kind thing to do is to stay on solid ground and throw them a rope. But if you're not discerning, if you just react without thinking, you might just end up in that hole yourself. So how do we practice kindness with discernment? Well, it starts with asking questions. When someone asks for your help, don't just automatically say yes. Ask yourself, is this person trying to solve their own problem? Or are they just looking for someone to solve it for them? Will my help actually improve their situation in the long run? Or am I just enabling harmful behavior? Remember, sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to let them solve their own problems. It's like the old saying goes, you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Now, I'm not saying you should become cynical or suspicious of everyone. Far from it. But I am saying that you need to be wise. You need to be discerning. Because if you're not, your kindness will make you a target for those who would take advantage of you. And let me tell you something. When you let people take advantage of your kindness, you're not just hurting yourself. You're hurting them too. Because you're teaching them that it's okay to use people, that it's okay to take without giving back. And that's not a lesson anyone needs to learn. So practice kindness, yes. But practice it with your eyes wide open. Be generous, but be wise in your generosity. Be helpful, but make sure your help is actually helping, not hurting. Now let's move on to our third point. Kindness without self-respect will destroy your self-esteem. This is a big one, folks, and it's one that a lot of people struggle with. You see, many of us have been taught that being kind means always putting others first, always sacrificing our own needs for the needs of others. But let me tell you something. That's not kindness. That's martyrdom. And it's a surefire way to ruin your life. I once knew a man. Let's call him Tom. Tom was always doing things for other people. He'd drop everything to help a friend move. He'd stay late at work to finish his colleagues' projects. He'd cancel his own plans if someone needed a favor. Now, on the surface, this might sound admirable, but here's the thing. Tom never did anything for himself. He never pursued his own dreams. He never took time for his own hobbies. He was so busy being kind to everyone else that he forgot to be kind to himself. And you know what happened? Tom's self-esteem plummeted. He started to feel like he wasn't worth anything unless he was doing something for someone else. He lost sight of his own value as a person. You see, true kindness, the kind that enriches your life instead of ruining it, starts with being kind to yourself. It starts with respecting yourself enough to have your own goals, your own dreams, your own boundaries. Think about it this way. If you had a friend who was constantly putting themselves down, constantly sacrificing their own happiness for others, constantly neglecting their own needs, would you think that was okay? Of course not. You'd tell them to start taking care of themselves, wouldn't you? Well, guess what? You need to be that friend to yourself. You need to treat yourself with the same kindness and respect that you show to others. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but isn't that selfish? Isn't putting myself first the opposite of kindness? No, it's not. And here's why. When you respect yourself, when you take care of your own needs, you become a better person. You become stronger, more confident, more capable, and that means you have more to give to others. It's like what they tell you on airplanes, put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, you can't help anyone. So how do we practice kindness with self-respect? It starts with setting boundaries. It starts with learning to say no sometimes. It starts with making time for your own goals and dreams. Try they. Do at least one kind thing for yourself. It could be something small, like taking a relaxing bath or reading a book you enjoy. Or it could be something bigger, like pursuing a hobby you've always wanted to try or working towards a personal goal. And here's the important part. Don't feel guilty about it. Remember, taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's what allows you to keep being kind to others in a way that's sustainable. Because here's the truth, folks, you can't give what you don't have. If you don't have self-respect, you can't give respect to others. If you don't have self-love, you can't give love to others. If you don't take care of yourself, eventually you'll have nothing left to give to anyone else. So be kind to yourself, respect yourself, love yourself, because that's the foundation of true kindness, the kind that enriches your life instead of ruining it. Now let's move on to our fourth and final point. Kindness without authenticity will leave you. This is perhaps the most subtle way that misguided kindness can ruin your life, but it's also one of the most damaging. You see, many people think that being kind means always agreeing with others, always going along with what everyone else wants, always wearing a smile even when you're hurting inside. But let me tell you something, that's not kindness, that's people-pleasing, and it's a one-way ticket to a life of emptiness and resentment. I remember a time in my own life when I fell into this trap. I was always trying to be what I thought other people wanted me to be. I'd agree with opinions I didn't really share. I'd laugh at jokes I didn't find funny. I'd go along with plans I had no interest in. And you know what? I was miserable. I felt like I was living someone else's life. I felt disconnected from myself, from my own thoughts and feelings. And the worst part, the relationships I built on this false foundation of inauthentic kindness felt hollow and unsatisfying. You see, true kindness, the kind that enriches your life and the lives of others, comes from a place of authenticity. It comes from being true to yourself, from sharing your genuine thoughts and feelings, from being real with people. Think about it. When someone is kind to you, but you can tell it's forced or fake, how does that make you feel? Not great, right? But when someone is kind to you in a way that's genuine, that comes from their heart, that's powerful. That's the kind of kindness that can change lives. So how do we practice kindness with authenticity? It starts with being honest with yourself and with others. It starts with having the courage to be vulnerable, to show your true self to the world. Now, I know that can be scary. We're often taught that we need to hide our true selves, that we need to always be agreeable and pleasant. But let me tell you something, the world doesn't need more pleasant, agreeable people who are dying inside. The world needs more people who are alive, who are real, who are authentic. Try this. The next time you're in a situation where you're tempted to agree, just to be nice, pause, take a deep breath, and then share your true thoughts or feelings, kindly, respectfully, but honestly. You might be surprised at how much people appreciate your authenticity. And here's another thing. Being authentic doesn't mean being unkind. You can disagree with someone respectfully. You can say no to something you don't want to do without being rude. In fact, when you learn to do these things with kindness and authenticity, your relationships will become stronger and more meaningful. Because here's the truth, folks, people don't connect with perfection. They don't connect with a false front of constant agreeability. They connect with realness. They connect with authenticity. They connect with people who have the courage to be themselves. So be kind, yes, but be authentically kind. Be kind in a way that's true to who you are, because that's the kind of kindness that will enrich your life, not ruin it. Now let's wrap this all up. We've talked about 4 ways that misguided kindness can ruin your life. 1, kindness without boundaries will exhaust you. 2, kindness without discernment will make you a target. 3, kindness without self-respect will destroy your self-esteem. 4, kindness without authenticity will leave you feeling empty. But here's the thing, understanding these pitfalls doesn't mean we should stop being kind. Far from it. It means we need to practice a higher form of kindness, a wiser, more sustainable, more authentic form of kindness. Imagine a world where everyone practiced this kind of kindness. A world where people were genuinely helpful, but also knew how to set healthy boundaries. A world where people were generous, but also wise and discerning in their generosity. A world where people cared for others, but also respected and cared for themselves. A world where people were kind, not because they were trying to please others, but because they were being true to themselves. That's the kind of world I want to live in. And here's the exciting part. We can start creating that world right now, starting with ourselves. So here's my challenge to you. Practice kindness, but practice it wisely. Set boundaries, be discerning, respect yourself, be authentic, and watch how this transforms not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Remember, true kindness isn't about being nice all the time. It's about doing what's truly best for yourself and for others. It's about being strong enough to sometimes say no. It's about being wise enough to help in ways that truly make a difference. It's about respecting yourself enough to take care of your own needs. And it's about being brave enough to be real, to be authentic. You see, when you practice this kind of kindness, something magical happens. Instead of kindness ruining you life, it starts to enrich it in ways you never imagined possible. You start to feel more energized, more respected, more confident, and more fulfilled. And the impact you have on others? It becomes more profound than ever. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This all sounds great, but it's easier said than done. And you're right. It's not always easy to set boundaries, to be discerning, to respect yourself, to be authentic. But let me tell you something. Anything worth doing is rarely easy. Think about it this way. When you start working out, it's not easy, is it? Those first few days, weeks even, you're sore. You're tired. You might even want to quit. But if you stick with it, what happens? You get stronger. You get healthier. You start to feel better than you ever have before. Well, practicing this wise kindness is like a workout for your character. At first, it might feel uncomfortable. You might feel guilty saying no. You might worry about disappointing people. You might feel vulnerable being authentic. But if you stick with it, you'll develop a strength of character that will serve you for the rest of your life. And here's the beautiful thing. As you get stronger, as you get better at practicing this wise kindness, it starts to become second nature. It becomes part of who you are. Now let me share with you a little secret. The people who master this kind of kindness, they're the ones who truly change the world. They're the ones who build lasting relationships, who create meaningful change, who leave a legacy that continues long after they're gone. Why? Because their kindness comes from a place of strength, not weakness. It comes from a place of wisdom, not naivety. It comes from a place of self-respect, not self-sacrifice. And it comes from a place of authenticity, not people-pleasing. These are the people who can say no to a friend, who's asking for money to fund a bad habit, and instead offer to help them find a job. These are the people who can disagree with their boss respectfully, and in doing so, prevent a costly mistake. These are the people who can take time for themselves without feeling guilty and come back recharged and ready to help others even more effectively. These are the people who change lives, who inspire others, who make the world a better place. Not by being nice all the time, but by being kind in the truest sense of the word. So, how do we become one of these people? How do we master this art of wise kindness? Well, like any skill, it takes practice, it takes commitment, it takes a willingness to sometimes feel uncomfortable in the short term for the sake of long-term growth. Here's what I want you to do. Starting today, I want you to become aware of your kindness. Every time you do something kind, I want you to ask yourself these questions. 1, am I setting healthy boundaries with this act of kindness? Or am I overextending myself? 2, am I being discerning about this kindness? Or am I potentially enabling harmful behavior? 3, am I respecting myself in this act of kindness? Or am I neglecting my own needs? 4, is this kindness authentic to who I am, or am I just trying to please others? Now, don't beat yourself up if you find that you're falling into some of these traps. Remember, awareness is the first step to change. Just noticing these patterns is a huge step forward. And then, bit by bit, start making changes. Start setting those boundaries. Start being more discerning. Start respecting yourself more. Start being more authentic in your kindness. It won't happen overnight. There will be times when you slip back into old habits. That's okay. That's part of the process. The important thing is to keep moving forward, to keep growing, to keep becoming better at this wise kindness. Because here's the truth, folks. This journey of learning to practice wise kindness, it's not just about avoiding the pitfalls we've talked about today. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. It's about living a life of purpose and integrity. It's about making a real difference in the world. You see, when you master this wise kindness, you become a beacon of light in a world that often seems dark. You become a source of strength for others. You become someone who doesn't just talk about making the world a better place. You actually do it day by day, interaction by interaction. And the beautiful thing is, as you practice this wise kindness, you'll find that it starts to spread. People around you will be inspired by your example. They'll start to set healthier boundaries. They'll start to be more discerning in their generosity. They'll start to respect themselves more. They'll start to be more authentic. And bit by bit, person by person, we can create a ripple effect of wise kindness that spreads far beyond our immediate circle. Now, I want to address something important here. Some of you might be thinking, but what about forgiveness? What about turning the other cheek? Isn't that part of kindness too? And you're absolutely right. Forgiveness is a crucial part of kindness. But here's the thing. True forgiveness, the kind that heals and transforms, doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It doesn't mean forgetting the lesson and putting yourself in the same harmful situation again. True forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment and anger. It's about choosing to move forward rather than being stuck in the past. But it doesn't mean you have to trust the person who hurt you. It doesn't mean you have to put yourself in a position to be hurt again. You can forgive someone and still choose not to have them in your life. You can forgive someone and still set firm boundaries with them. You can forgive someone and still hold them accountable for their actions. That's what wise kindness looks like. It's kind to yourself and to others. It's forgiving but not foolish. It's compassionate but not naive. Now, let's talk about another aspect of kindness that often gets overlooked: kindness to ourselves. You see, many of us find it much easier to be kind to others than to be kind to ourselves. We beat ourselves up over small mistakes. We push ourselves to exhaustion. We neglect our own needs and dreams. But here's the thing. If you can't be kind to yourself, your kindness to others will always be limited. It will come from a place of depletion rather than abundance. It will be tinged with resentment rather than joy. So I want you to start practicing kindness to yourself. Treat yourself with the same compassion and understanding that you would offer to a good friend. Celebrate your successes, no matter how small. Learn from your mistakes without beating yourself up over them. Take care of your physical and emotional needs. This isn't selfish. This is necessary. Because when you're kind to yourself, you have so much more to give to others. Your kindness becomes an overflow of your own inner abundance rather than a draining of your limited resources. Now, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the idea that kindness can make you a target. This is a real concern, and it's one reason why some people shy away from kindness altogether. They're afraid of being taken advantage of being seen as weak. But here's the thing, wise kindness doesn't make you a target. It makes you a force to be reckoned with, because when you practice wise kindness, you're not just being nice, you're being strong, you're being discerning, you're being respected, you're being authentic. People who try to take advantage of others, they're looking for easy targets. They're looking for people who can't say no, who don't have strong boundaries, who are desperate for approval. But when you practice wise kindness, you become the opposite of an easy target. You become someone who is confident, who knows their worth, who can say no without guilt, who can be generous without being gullible. You become someone who can offer help without being taken advantage of. You become someone who can be compassionate without being a pushover. You become someone who can make a real difference in the world without sacrificing your own well-being. And let me tell you something, that kind of strength, that kind of integrity, that kind of wise kindness, it's magnetic. It draws people to you. Not people who want to take advantage of you, but people who are inspired by you, people who want to learn from you, people who want to grow alongside you. You become a leader, not by seeking power or status, but by embodying this wise kindness in everything you do. Now, I want to address one more thing before we wrap up. Some of you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but I'm just one person. How much difference can I really make? And to that I say, never underestimate the power of one person practicing wise kindness. Never underestimate the ripple effect that your actions can have. Think about it. Every great movement, every positive change in the world started with one person deciding to do things differently, one person deciding to stand up for what's right, one person deciding to be kind in a world that often seems unkind. You might not see the full impact of your kindness right away. You might not ever know all the lives you've touched, all the changes you've set in motion, but trust me, every act of wise kindness matters. Every time you set a healthy boundary, every time you offer help in a way that truly empowers someone, every time you're authentic in your interactions, you're changing the world. You're creating a ripple effect that goes far beyond what you can see. You're inspiring others to be kinder, to be wiser, to be better. You're contributing to a culture of wise kindness that can transform families, workplaces, communities, and eventually the world. So don't ever think that you're just one person, that your kindness doesn't matter. It matters more. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to leave you with this thought. Kindness, when practiced wisely, is not a weakness. It's not a liability. It's not something that will ruin your life. On the contrary, wise kindness is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It's a strength that can transform your life and the lives of those around you. It's a tool for personal growth, for building meaningful relationships, for making a real difference in the world. So go out there and be kind, but be wisely kind. Set those boundaries, be discerning, respect yourself, be authentic, forgive, but don't be foolish. Be compassionate, but don't be a pushover. Be generous, but don't neglect your own needs. Practice this wise kindness every day in every interaction. Watch how it changes you. Watch how it changes those around you. Watch how it starts to change the world. Remember, you have the power to choose how you practice kindness. You have the power to turn kindness from something that could potentially ruin your life into something that enriches it beyond measure. So choose wisely. Choose to be kind in a way that uplifts you and others. Choose to be kind in a way that creates positive change. Choose to be kind in a way that leaves a lasting legacy. Because in the end, that's what life is all about. It's not about how much money you make or how famous you become. It's about the lives you touch. It's about the positive change you create. It's about the kindness you put into the world. So go out there and be wisely kind and watch how it transforms your world.